Right. Okay. So we are fortunate enough today to have our district clerk, Velva Price, with us. She's been the district clerk for Travis County since 2015. She's in her second term, about to start running for her third term in 2022. Velva was the first African-American woman to be elected as president of the Austin Bar Association. As far as I know, she's the only still. She's also served as president of the Austin Black Lawyers Association and the Travis County Women Lawyers Association. In addition, she was selected as chair of the City of Austin Minority-Owned and Women-Owned Business Enterprise and Small Business Enterprise Procurement Program Advisory Committee. That is long. As well, chair of the Travis County Civil Service Commission for Sheriff's Office Employees. Further, Velva has volunteered for many other boards and commissions, including the State Bar of Texas. She's back on the board of Volunteer Legal Services with me, Interfaith Action of Central Texas, Texas Supreme Court Grievance Oversight Committee, City of Austin's Ethics Review Commission, Austin Community Radio, and David Chapel Missionary Baptist Church Usher Board. With that, Velva, I will let you take over. Thank you.
Hello, everybody, and I am honored to be asked to come back again. And we have the district clerk's office has lots to share. I've sent the PowerPoint to Amber, so if you read it and you have any questions, you're welcome to reach out to the office. And Amber has my direct email address, so she will send it to me and then I will respond to you guys. And now I'm going to pull up, if I know how to do this, the PowerPoint. There we go. There we go. And I know I should be doing something so you don't see my cheat sheets, but I don't know how to do this. So anyway, there's the straight talk. There's my bio. I do want to tell you that we are one of the bigger offices, district clerk's offices here in Texas. We have over 120 employees. We are now in 3 buildings. I am talking to you all from the Criminal Justice Center, the Criminal Division, which is in the Galt building. It's just weird how we have a building next to the courthouse, but it's not part of the courthouse. Anyway, that's, government. And the criminal building, the Criminal Division is now open for the public. I'll talk about that later in our presentation, as is all of our offices, but since we're on the back end of COVID, it's by appointment only. And I'll share with all of you how to make appointments and contact our office near the end. And so the other news is we now have 12 civil district courts. And I'll talk about that later on. Our newest one, which is weird, is the 455th that just came on board. They just appointed somebody this year, that's Dustin Howell, but he will be migrating over to the federal system. So they are trying to wait for the governor to appoint a new judge for that seat. But I will tell you, in 2022, we will have another judge that will be sitting in that bench. And right now there are people who are announcing that they're running for the 455th. We have 9 criminal district courts. The newest one is the 460th, and I'm going to talk about that. And then we have, of course, 1 criminal magistrate and 4 associate courts. And my office is also responsible for all the jury management, summoning jurors, sending out notices to jurors, making sure they know where to go. And also we have a passport office, which has been open since we went to stage 3. I can't remember when that is, and that we are in a brand new, spacious, wonderfully designed by us over by the Nelda Spears on Airport. So if you guys need a passport because you're thinking about traveling, please consider the district clerk's office. Okay, now let's talk about serious stuff. Once again, and I think I presented this at the last time, this is the statutory responsibilities of the district clerk's office. We are statutorily responsible to be the custodian of all district court records. We also, in the specific statute, it talks about issuing judgments and making sure that judgments are recorded and indexing. And so one of the matters I'm going to bring up to you later on is some changes that are occurring due to our move to Odyssey. And let me just tell you now, we are focusing on getting only initials sent to us because that, in my view, violates our constitutional duty to index parties. And when we move to Odyssey, that is going to be something we're going to be enforcing, which we haven't done. We're also in charge of jury impaneling, which I've already talked about a little bit, and then registry of the courts, which would be, when minors get in car accidents and they are awarded funds, but they don't want them to spend it when they're 10 years old. And so we deposit that money into the registry and then send it to them in accordance with a court order. Once again, I think I had this slide when I presented to you guys last time. Most of the clerks, and there are over 400 clerks in the state of Texas. We have 254 counties. It's really weird. We have district clerks and county clerks in some counties, like here in Travis, and then smaller counties. One of my friends is in Sutton County, which has 3,700 people in an entire county. And they only have one clerk, and she does both county clerk and district clerk work. And so I thought there would be, why isn't there over 500 clerks? And that's because some clerks are called combination clerks. We are once again unauthorized to give legal advice, which unfortunately we get asked that a lot by a lot of self-represented litigants. And one thing that I do want to point out to you is we are required to have 20 hours of continuing education. And so the clerks are always trying to learn not just the law, but we also have to, this is what was the most surprising for me, we have to understand the law, which is not written, as we all know, for everyday people, but then we have to practice it and put it into practice in order to have it applied to everyday people. Most clerks continued the first couple of weeks when the pandemic hit in the middle of March. We all shut down like everybody because we didn't know what it was or how to deal with it. But probably within a week or two, most of the clerks returned back to the courthouse. We at Travis County, both the county and I will speak for Dana, for both the county and district clerk's office, have been in the courthouse. I get a little frustrated when I hear, isn't the courthouse closed? Well, the courthouse has never been closed. It has been closed for people just to walk in and wander around, but we have always been operating doing our job in the building. It's not in the same way. We don't have everybody here because that would be dangerous. As COVID, COVID is unfortunately a very shareable disease with dire consequences, but we have always been available to be contacted and in the building. So I just you could tell that's just something I really had to emphasize. And once again, you guys are always welcome if you want to interrupt and ask questions, because I'll just talk. Okay. The difference between legal advice and information, you guys are very smart paralegals, so I don't really have to go over this very much, but just basically we can't tell you about deadlines. We have people asking, when can I file the answer? When is the last day? But we know that there are always, the one thing about the law, there is always exceptions to the rule. So we do not give that information. We basically say you have the citation, you probably should seek advice from legal counsel. A lot of them don't. And then we can't tell what to file, whether or not you need to file a motion to modify, whether you need to file a motion to enforce. But what we can tell you is where the local rules are. We can tell you how, of course, to get records from our office and the cost. We can tell you what is found in the case file, what last order was signed. But we can tell you that because that is something that is just basic advice. Now, let's talk about numbers. I didn't do this at the last presentation, but I wanted to tell you how busy our office basically has been since the pandemic. And it was a surprise for me. 2019 was the post-pandemic year. We had over 9,000 filings in our general litigation. And then we had over 14,000 new filings, which is, new petitions, new divorce petitions, and also people that are refiling in family. And then we had over 12,000 criminal filings, which is unfortunate. E-filings are crazy, and as more and more people are moving to e-filings, which unfortunately takes our office, once again, takes our office a long time to take the e-filings off the system and into our, what I will call our legacy system. Because once again, our clerks have to everything you guys type into e-filing, our clerks have to retype them because our systems are not integrated, because we got our system 10 years before the e-filing came on board. And so a lot of the things that people think are quicker is not quick for our office at this time. In October, and I'll talk about that later on, it will be faster. Fingers crossed and everything goes well. So we had over 94,000 filings on general lit, 73,000 filings in family, and 15,000 filings in criminal. I do want to point out we have a call center, and we took over 37,000 phone calls last in 2019. COVID time just dropped, makes me crazy. And then we had over 10,000 records requests. But what happened during COVID? I thought things would be a little calmer. Well, that's not true. We went down just a smidge for COVID in our new filings. 8,500 for general lit, 10,000 from 14,000 in family, and 10,000 in criminal. Now the e-filings significantly increased. We had over 100,000 e-filings in general litigation, and we had over 78,000 e-filings in family. So we had a lot of e-filings, I guess, since people were at home and they wanted to figure out what to do with their lawsuits and they had more time, I guess. The e-filing significantly increased, mainly because they couldn't come to the courthouse and drop off the paperwork. I think that's what happened. The e-filings in criminal was down, and that's because there was a lot of emergency orders issued by our district courts in regards to not taking a lot of actions during the COVID. And so we had significant, the new filings and the e-filings were down. But what also increased, our phone calls and our records requests were significant, and they are still significant because, of course, as we're coming out of COVID, people still aren't sure. They still don't want to come out until they feel safe and secure. They also are wondering, is the courthouse open? Sometimes I even default into pre-COVID. I went by the bank and forgot they're just like the courthouse. They were closed and you have to have appointments. And so that makes me wary about going to do my other daily business without checking ahead of time. So let's talk about statewide, because I know a lot of you practice not just in Travis County, but up and down the Beltway of 35 and probably other areas. E-files are now at pre-pandemic levels. I got all this information from the Texas Supreme Court Office of Court Administration. That is the administrative arm of our Texas Supreme Court and Texas Court of Appeals. They send all the information out to the clerks and the judges, and they keep us apprised of things that affect our offices and things and rules and regulations and orders that are issued by the Texas Supreme Court and the Court of Criminal Appeals. They are the ones that are responsible for instituting a mandatory e-file. Okay, back to our numbers. So I know there's been a lot of complaints. I've heard this, that we don't process people don't process the e-files timely. I think, people who are unhappy complain louder than people who basically consider the clerks doing their job. But over 91.39% of the filings are processed under 24 hours. And the response rates, which is a clerk responding to an e-filing, is the same whether it's from a big county like Travis. I'm going to go back to Sutton. I just love Sutton County, or a smaller county like Sutton. The return for correction rates are down. Yay! That means we're all, getting used to e-filing. We all know the rules. Question.
I have a question, Velva. So awesome to have you back again. Everybody loves your CLEs. So my question is that return rate, has that gone down over the last few years?
Yes, it's my understanding it is. I actually have access to, they put me on a pilot and I can get that information and send it to you.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it has.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
And then Emily has a question in the chat. She said she doesn't have a microphone. Are
Yeah, and
other,
I can't read. You can never read the chat when you're doing.
yep, we got it. She said, are people other than pro se plaintiffs really still paper filing? I thought the rules changed a couple years ago to require e-filing unless you're pro se.
Yes, the rules require that if you're an attorney, only attorney. So in like the criminal section, we get documents from the probate. And then on CPS cases, we get paperwork from DPS, which are, you know, caseworkers, from CASA. They are not required to e-file. So the only people that are required to e-file are attorneys. There are a lot of other agencies and departments, like if APD has to file a police report, they don't have to e-file.
Didn't know that. Thank you.
Okay. And once again, I just want to remind everybody, because we're getting ready to go into Memorial Holiday, and then we're going to have, I think the county closed for Juneteenth. And then we're also going to go into the 4th of July. I know a lot of law firms are not closed sometimes during the holidays that we're closed in Travis County. And so it will take a little bit longer to have our filings done because they pile up while we are at home. I will call resting up. So, oh, more e-file. I did ask my office items that they really wanted me to emphasize with the Paralegal Association. And so here we go. Once again, documents, once we go back, once the Supreme Court has lifted their emergency order, which we expect to have some big changes on June 1st, documents that cannot be e-filed. You cannot e-file into sealed files, or you cannot right now e-file the administrative records. My office is working on that to stop having all this paper come in regards to administrative hearings. But presently, because the Supreme Court has lifted a lot of the rules and allowed the clerks to be a little bit more flexible, we are and because people can't come in person, we really don't want to encourage people still to come in person. We are allowing people to e-file into their sealed files. Just give a call to Danica Deutsch if it's a family law case, and then Connie Jefferson if it's a civil case, general lit / government case, because they have to unseal the file, then seal it back so that you can e-file into it. We still are having a lot of, I'm not going to say issues, but things that we have to work on in regards to TROs and injunctions. Those have once, you know, the pandemic kind of, people got used to the rhythm of it. We had a bunch of TRO and injunctions being filed. And once again, please contact our office immediately after filing your TRO, because the system, the e-file system, does not tell us this is an emergency filing. And so it does not jump ahead of 6. Like yesterday, I looked at our e-filing and we had over 28 pages of pending e-filing. And so if you file your TRO and injunction at 10 o'clock at night, we don't know that it's there so that we can, and you have a hearing at 8 o'clock in the morning. First of all, don't do that. We don't know that it's there so that we can process it so that the judge will be able to see it electronically. And so a couple of things about that. One, please call our office that you have filed it and that you intend to have a hearing pretty quickly. It does take, by the time we accept it and for it to go through, you know, technology is not fast as we like on TV. By the time it's processed in our office, sits in our system, is picked up by the judge's system, that's usually 24 hours. And I just want you guys to remember that. Or you can do what the judges are asking is for you to bring the TRO with the cause number, because they are looking for the cause number to make sure it's been filed with our office. And also they want to see a copy of the file stamp. Once again, please obtain the cause number before contacting the court. Not lately, but we have files where the TRO is not filed or it's not accepted. The hearing occurs, we get it back. We have not set up a new case because we get the order because the attorney or did not complete the TRO. He's already got it granted, or she's already got it denied. And so they're just moving on, and we don't have a full complete file for anybody for the future. Set the hearing, just, you know, this is just, I think, realizing that people have lives And I know we will always have somebody available if you have to have a hearing at 4:30 because it's an emergency. We understand the nature of TROs and injunctions, but if you can, we would please love you to have it before 4 o'clock because we have to wait for the hearing to be completed. And then we have to process the paperwork. We have to process the order. If we have to send out if we have to process a bond, we have to have people here in order to do that because we know that that has to be done. So just be aware that just like you, we would like to be able to go home and be with deal with the other part of our lives. So if you can set a hearing before 4, it would be much appreciated. But once again, we do understand if that's not possible. And I have a list at the bottom. If you get on our website, which if I knew what I was doing on Zoom, I would show you how we could have the contact page. But on the district clerk's website, there is a contacts page and there is a contact either number, I think it's a number for the finance office. And that's who you would contact after you have a hearing about bonds. And then on miscellaneous, we are still having people file their e-file without their email addresses, and we don't get to capture that. We don't get to capture that because of our system right now. So more e-file, of course, all things e-file. When an order is signed, and we will automatically right now send out a little postcard to everybody that said it's been signed, and we will send it to the last known address that we have. So if we have an old address for your law firm, it's going to go to the old address. If you have sent a change of counsel, but it wasn't clear in the order or the notice that the attorney is the attorney in charge, we may keep it with the old attorney when we send out the notice. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute. We are working on ways to send it electronically, but right now we're still doing it, snail mail through a United States Postal Service. And then going back to the very bottom of this PowerPoint where it says, I don't know if you can see my, anyway, notice only has cause number. So the postcard only has a cause number. We have taken off the names because of privacy and issues that occurs, but because we send out orders on CPS cases, on name changes. And so we pulled out the names and just had the cause numbers. The only other thing is if you get an email response from the clerks, especially through the e-file system, it should contain the clerk's name and phone number so that you can call that clerk and say, hey, I don't even understand why this was returned to me, or for correction, because sometimes I've looked at the language and I'm like, what? That's pretty bureaucratic. So, so if you don't have that, if you don't see that, it's not snitching. Well, it is a little bit, but I keep telling people clerks are not going to get fired because of one error. We just need to know where training needs to be reinforced. We just need to know where we can say, hey, we got this notice that you didn't put your name and phone number, and you just need to remember to do that. Okay, now back to statewide. Oops, statewide. Okay, so as of April of this year, probably earlier, the OCA signed a brand new e-file contract with Tyler Technologies, which is this huge case management, this huge company that over 40% of the clerks have their product in, are using the Tyler product. And Tyler is the company that controls the e-file system that we now use statewide. So they have signed a second contract. And the good news is they've listened to both concerns expressed by the attorneys. And for me, they've listened to the concerns expressed by the clerks. And it's my understanding now, of course, we all know how technology is, that it's going to be faster. It's going to have multi-language, because right now it's all in English. And if your main language is another one, you will not understand. You won't be able, it's not made easier to e-file. And so hopefully it has a multi-language support that will make it easier to e-file if English is not your first language. It's supposed to have less interruptions for updates. We've all gotten those emails saying, hey, e-file is going to be closed down this weekend, so don't use it. There's supposed to be less of those. I guess this came from the law firms that filers can belong to multiple firms. It doesn't have to be attached to one firm. And then apparently you can bulk e-file more documents than you presently can. Now, the negative is these improvements over a 2-year time span. That's why it says April, it should be 2021 until October 2023, not April 21st to October 23. So it's a 2-year time span for these improvements to occur. This is what the new e-file portal 2 is going to look like for you, the filers. I think it's a little bit more user-friendly. It's going to give you more information. So I, on behalf of the clerk's office, because we get a lot of phone calls saying, we don't know, you know, how do we file this? I don't see this. I think if it makes it easier for the filers, it'll be less phone calls to us. And remember, we can't see what you are doing. And then this is from our point of view, the new reviewer portal is going to be much easier for us. This is an example of what it's going to look like. Okay, but let's go to Travis County. Let's talk about Travis County specifically. The 455th is the newest civil district courthouse that was approved by the legislators. And I just told Amber this when she and I met, that it costs about $1 million for a new civil courthouse to come on board here in Travis County. And that's because of the technology, the infrastructure, which is the building out a new courtroom, for staffing, for all of, especially it's even more expensive now because of COVID. I think they're going to put up even more protections. They actually have some protections, but they're going to, when they're building the courthouse, they're going to build protections now. Now, the criminal courts are even more expensive. It's 1.5 million because they have additional, which they should, additional requirements in regards to having a bailiff that is basically a deputy sheriff because of the security issues. They also generally have to have a secure portal for them to have the inmates protected both from the public and the public to be protected that way. So that's just some random information for you guys to, process. Okay, DWAP. Warren Bavra, the court administrator, is in charge of the DWAP process, not the district clerk in Travis County. In other counties, the clerk is in charge of the DWAP process, but that is at our Travis County weird. It has started again. So your office should be receiving, I think, thousands and thousands and thousands of DWAP notices are going out. And so once again, if you want to file a motion to retain, you need to file it with the district clerk's office, but copy the administrator's office. And I also believe that Warren's team is also checking to make sure a motion to retain has been filed before they do their dismissal order. Also, one thing is if you receive a notice from us and you said, wait, that case was dismissed, please call us. And more importantly, if you could send us a copy of the dismissal, because once in a while we file it in the wrong cause number. Once in a while we miss filing it. Once in a while the system eats it. That's what I've been told. Oh, the system ate it. So if you have a dismissal document, but got a DWAP letter, send it to us, and then we'll pull it off the DWAP docket and everybody will be happy. Now, this is one thing I was referring to. We're seeing a lot of cases change attorneys, but it's not clear to us. And remember, most clerks aren't attorneys. And so the Texas Rules of Civil Procedure basically says we follow the attorney in charge. That's what it says. It'll say, I am withdrawing, I am moving from this firm to that firm. Well, we don't know whether or not that case is moving. We don't know whether or not that means that the attorney in charge is now going with the new one or staying with the old one. So I would ask you as paralegals to make sure that that language is very clear in not just the motion, but especially in the order, because that's what we follow. Or if you send a notice, we also just get notices. So if you can do that, that would be very clear. And then if the state bar, whatever address you have on the state bar, that's the address that our system, both now and the one we'll have in October, will be capturing. So if you in your office have not updated your address, we'll have the new address, the address you give us for a while, but then the state bar and the then clumps on and they just rewrite it. They just rewrite with your old address. So the state bar address is very important, not just for the state bar to know where to send, their notices to you, including the membership notices, but also it affects all of the clerks in Texas. Okay. Oh, good news, good news, good news. As we are on the downslope of COVID, once again, our office we're every division from the criminal, general lit, records requests. Now we're having in-person appointments, and you just have to get on our website, which I have at the end. That's all the contact information, and you can make an appointment. The bad news is because people are coming out, because people have been waiting to get some things done, especially unfortunately in family, the wait list is about 2 weeks. That's not the same for general lit or for criminal, but we are trying to work on walk-ins, but walk-ins may have to wait. And I'm not sure, as everything, I'm not sure if you come in early, you may be able to get seen sooner, but if you come in on Friday at 4, because everybody's trying to get stuff done for the weekend, you may have to wait a longer period of time. So if you can, we would encourage you at this time to make an appointment. Okay, continuing, statement of inability to pay court costs. A couple of things that I want to just point out to you. All statements are reviewed by me or somebody of supervisory level. And I have challenged a couple of them, but only if it's obvious if the person can pay the court costs. Like if somebody, we had one person put that he had $1 million property. Well, why can't he pay 300, he or she? Try not to give that person away. Well, you wouldn't know anyway. So anyway, so we did contest it. Oh, no more. Okay, I'm just gonna talk.
No,
But
I was gonna ask you a question. You said you and who else gets to review those?
I review them, and also the supervisors in various offices review them.
And most of them get approved, but
Well, the new law is they are automatically approved. And then we have to, and this applies to every clerk, and it is a struggle for the clerks. And then they're automatically approved, except if they don't sign under oath, then we can return them. But otherwise we have to approve them, and then we have to contest it.
so you have to take the time after they're automatically approved and decide if it's worth contesting it.
Yes.
Okay.
So in Travis County, because we live in such an expensive county, generally we don't. I'll just tell you, we don't. But if I see that somebody makes $100,000, I will send it to the county clerk, the county attorney, who is my counsel, and she will reach out to the filers.
And then we have another question in the chat. I have noticed that some Travis County District Courts are making us pay for copies of signed agreed orders sent through the submission docket, and some of the courts are just providing them. Can you tell us why this is not consistent?
Nope, because those are the courts. I don't know, we have 9 civil, we have 12 judges. We have 12 judges that do things the different ways. What I will tell you is the reason it's not consistent is I thought that all the judges were sending unfiled copies to everybody. And then you have to get file stamp copies from our office, and copies generally you do have to pay for in the clerk's office.
All right, thank you.
Okay. And the other reason is some of the courts are sending it through e-file. And so I think once we receive it through e-file, you get a file stamp copy, but others just email it to us. And then once we get in our system, then you have to get a file stamp copy. So it's complicated. I think COVID has made things a little easier, but COVID has also made things a little more complex. One thing I would ask you to do for your attorneys is when if the person is represented by counsel and you are filing an affidavit of inability to pay court costs, that you also file a free legal services statement. If you are not representing and you still want a court cost waived, I'm generally sending that over to the county attorney to see whether or not we can contest it. But, you know, we'll see.
Sorry, is that a form that I know what the form looks like because we have it, but is that a form that's available on the website?
Oh, yes, the form is available on every clerk's website. The OCA has required that to occur.
And then we have another question.
Oh, yay.
Question about non-suit. We noticed that sometimes by filing a notice of non-suit, the online docket will show that the case status is closed, but sometimes the status remains pending unless we have an order of non-suit on file. Do we need an order of non-suit to close the case out?
No, you don't. Oh, well, so two things. No, you don't. And that is something I will talk to my office about. I think that's just some old training that we need to clean up. But sometimes a non-suit only non-suit certain parties. And so it is like on these really big party cases, we'll have non-suits filed and they'll say, well, we're only non-suiting party A and F. But if party D, you know, B, C, and D are still on there, then we keep it open. And so clerks really have to spend a lot of time on really big, complicated cases. But that is something I will talk to my office about.
And we have, this is Carly again, we've got plaintiff attorneys that will file a motion for non-suit. And I don't know why they do that, but then
I don't either. I mean, I used to file non-suits all the time when I was a defense attorney. So that's what I would draft, because why would I want to come to uncontested and try to find parking? So. I'm glad people are asking questions. Okay, citations. A couple of things. There was some language added by the Supreme Court, the Texas Rules of Civil Procedure, which basically reminds people, especially all the self-represented litigants, that disclosures are attached. Because I'm sure you guys have experienced that when you when somebody is served with a citation and they have the disclosure, they don't even know what it means. They don't even understand it. They just ignore it. And then of course the judges then it causes cases to take a long time because the judges, especially in Travis County, want to give self-represented litigants, you know, a chance to defend their cases. So we've added that language, which was required. Also, there's been a big change to citations by publications. Now there is a citation by publication website where it's public and people can see all the citations by publications that are on file, because I think they realize that nobody wants, you know, not nobody, but a lot of people are not reading the newspaper anymore. And so they wanted a way for people to access, to know whether or not they're being served by publication. And so just for you to be aware, we are required and we do submit it to the OCA website. And then, but the attorney is responsible for serving it and publishing it on the newspaper and following the law, the rules. So I just want to make sure that's clear. We do our part by putting it on the statewide website, but the attorney still has to follow their rules, and put it in the newspaper. Now, there are some counties, which is unfortunate. I love newspapers, that do not have newspapers. And so there's a lot of exceptions to the rules. So I just urge you guys to look at that in the Texas Rules of Civil Procedure. Subpoenas, once again, we have it on our website. It takes us 2 to 3 days to process. And then deuces tecums, you can tell them. The rules require that we have 30 days to process it and get it back to you. If you are subpoenaing the district clerk's office for the records. And then also attorneys can issue their own subpoenas. I remember doing that myself when I decided not to wait. So that's just a quick site. Okay, let's talk about the courts. Remember, the district clerk is her own elected office and elected official, but we do work with our own stakeholders, which are the district courts. Last election, we had a lot of changes. A lot of people retired. A lot of new judges came on board, and I just wanted to make sure that everybody's aware of the new judges and the new courts. And then I'll talk briefly about the submission docket, since that's something that everybody is experiencing who are submitting uncontested matters. So Judge Maria Cantu Hexel is now at the 53rd. That used to be Judge Scott Jenkins. Aurora Martinez Jones was elected to the 126. That used to be Darlene Byrne. Jessica Mangum is on the 200th District Court. That was in flux. So there was, there was like a temporary judge there for a while. And then Madeline Connor took over that court from Judge Shulock, who occasionally will come back as a visiting judge here in Travis County. She's, somebody raising their hand? Just okay. She is now on the 353rd. Now, the newest court, which just came on board once again, and I've already talked about this briefly, is the 455th District Court. Judge Dustin Howell, who has, I think, served on, 3 courts. This is like his 3rd court. He has been appointed by the governor to the 455th, but I just learned that he is now going to be the new federal court magistrate. So he will be leaving, I don't know when, sometime this year. And then we have to wait for the governor either to appoint somebody, or in January 1st of 2023, we will have a new judge who will be elected to that court. People are already announcing what courts they're running for. And so I will let you guys do your own research in regards to that. We have a new CPS Associate District Court judge because Aurora Martinez Jones moved up to District Court, and that's Leigh Matthews Rodriguez. Just for your edification, I've been reading my thesaurus lately. Judge Martinez Jones and Judge Leigh Matthews Rodriguez are pretty much in charge and solely responsible for the Child Protective Services docket, which is basically the protection of children from neglect and harm. And then on the criminal side, we had 2 big changes. Judge Dana Blasey replaced Judge Wahlberg on the 160th District Court, and Judge Selena Alvarenga replaced Judge Jeffrey Purrier on the 460th. So that's the new judges. See if I thought I wrote some notes down. Nope, did not. Okay, going on to the next one. Okay, this is the big news for all of you and for us, and we're very excited. I think I talked about this last time and it didn't happen, but it is going to happen this time. Fingers crossed and everything goes the way it should. As of October 4th of 2021, we will be moving to a new case management system called Odyssey. That is the Tyler product that also creates e-file. So what does this mean to you? That means that when you e-file a document, generally, sometimes if it's not in this, if it's in our system, but for some reason it's not in the e-file system, you guys have to type in the new cause number, you have to type in the new parties. Well, we're going to integrate Odyssey with e-file. So generally, if you will just pull it up and type in some portion of it, you will get a list of cases that are, related or have something similar to it, and you should be able to access that faster through the e-file system when we go into Odyssey. Patients. So integrating a system, we're a very old county. We have a lot of things on file, which is good news. But our legacy system has been around for about 15 years. It contains enormous amount of documents. I mean, not just thousands, but millions and millions and millions of pages and data and metadata. So all of that has to transfer over to this new Odyssey system. So from October 1st to October 8th, which is a whole week, our system basically will be down. We will not be able to access any documents and files. The judges may, or hopefully we'll be able to know what cases are set for hearings, but the e-file is going to be a little behind because you won't be able to e-file into our system while we're transferring over. But we will send out, I'm working on an article to the Austin Bar Association, which will come out in September because we'll be going live in October. I'll also be sending you guys, this organization, additional information as we get closer. But if you could avoid it, we would appreciate if you don't set any hearings that week, because it's going to be a bumpy road. The good news for everybody is from Bell County, which is moving to Odyssey, and I think I talked about this before. They're moving to Odyssey on June 7th, And then Bear County, which is the southern tip of 35 for us in our area, they just went to Odyssey 2 weeks ago, and they're civil, and their criminal is going to happen, I think, sometime next year. And so we are.
Sorry. Is this just for district court or?
No, district and county, for both, for everybody.
All right.
Williamson County is already on Odyssey. Bell County is already on Odyssey. So between Bell, Williamson, Travis, Hayes, Bear, we will all be on some system of Odyssey. Now, what does that mean? That means hopefully we can have a regional meeting of all the clerks, county and district clerks, and we can all accept things in the same way. Hopefully we can agree to the same rules so that I don't hear and my office doesn't hear, well, they do it differently in Williamson. And we can say, nope, they don't. We have an agreement. No, they don't. But that's not going to happen until probably January of 2022, once we get into our system and we realize how it works. And then we set up a meeting with our, I call them our I-35 clerks. So Arrow, which I know a lot of attorneys are on, and I'm sure none of you paralegals are on because that's against the rules. You're going to have to reapply for that. And once again, it's only, we're going to limit it to only Texas licensed attorneys. And then our system also will be integrated into Research Texas, which I've talked about. I pulled that slide, but basically that's a statewide portal where you can get, like when I was a defense attorney, and I took somebody's depo and they said, well, I had an accident in, Jefferson County. And I'm like, ah. And then you would call Jefferson County and they were like, well, it's going to cost you, it's going to take us forever to get that information for you. But Research Texas, I can type in that person's name now. And if they have filed anything or had an accident since, I think it's 2016, I will be able to get those documents and pay. I would have been able to get those documents and pay 10 cents a page. Any questions before I move on? I see. Okay, now let's talk about the world of COVID as it exists now and probably will continue to exist even after we are, hopefully past this this pandemic.
We do have.
That's okay.
Somebody wrote, are in-person jury trials going to begin in July?
Yes, they are. I'm going to talk about that.
And then what happens to AARO?
Oh, it's going to be a different attorney portal, but it's going to stay.
Okay.
We're still going to let attorneys have the same access. It's just going to look a little different.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so virtual hearings and dockets. The civil judges and the criminal judges are going to continue doing their virtual hearings. So I would ask you to check the documents to file. Oh, yes. So if you need to file, I'm trying to think what my note was. So what we are doing is if you have a hearing that is set on a docket, we're checking that docket to make sure that we can try to get those documents into the file as soon as possible. Because once again, it takes 24 hours from when we accept it to when the judges can see it on their system, which is called Smart Bench technology. It is great, but it's also not as fast as it is on Star Trek land. Okay, orders. Our clerks have nothing to do with the orders anymore. Now that the judges have taken over or have created the submission docket, we don't know what is being submitted to the submission docket. We don't know when the judges are signing it. All we know is when we receive it and we put it into our system. So if you have questions about why is it taking so long, or I haven't received a signed order, you can call our clerks all you want. And all we're going to tell you is to call that court, which would be the staff attorney or the judicial aide, the judicial executive assistant, that's their new title. And all of their phone numbers are on the court's website. And then if you do criminal work, please, 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 once again, try to have your attorney sign whatever documents that are needed, that have been submitted by the clerks by 10 o'clock, because it is really difficult for our clerks to process the documents. If you guys are reaching plea agreements at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and there's a hearing or a plea hearing at 9 o'clock the next day. It just creates havoc with everything. And so we had sent out an email, when this started, to ask people if they could get everything done on the criminal dockets by 10 a.m. But as usual, just normal human nature, people are kind of slip sliding. And so we would ask you to remind your attorneys, 10 o'clock, please, please, please have your document signed, and so that we can submit it to the judge in a timely manner. I think that's all for that one. Now comes the question that we had. So jury trials and in-person hearings. First, let's talk about criminal in-person hearings. Judge Livingston, who was our local administrative judge, is reviewing the suggestions made both by the judges and by the clerk's office in regards to in-person hearings, but there is no doubt they will start in June of this year, of 2021. And they're going to be limited number of defendants that can attend. So what's proposed is Zoom hearings will still occur on the plea dockets, but then the in-person hearings will occur so that we can get, some decisions made for people, unfortunately, that have not been able to get out of jail. The schedule is limited. And then I think as we all figure out things and things get a little better, I'm sure we'll be opening it up even more. For civil, right now, there is no information that my office has about civil in-person hearings. I know that the judges are discussing it, but there have been no proposals or anything submitted to my office about that. So they will continue with their Zoom hearings in the near future. Now, once in a while, I've heard that the judges are coming, meeting in person, but that's only for very specific reasons, and that's only specifically for that judge. And they will contact the parties for that hearing only, but not on a massive scale the way the criminal judges are starting to open things up. Now, in-person jury trials, everybody's getting ready for an in-person jury trial. Every level of the courts, every level of the court is working on jury trials. They may be virtual or they may be in person. For in-person, they're doing a pilot project. I think Judge Livingston sent out an email to the Austin Bar Association that says starting in July, that we will have, we think, 2 for that week. I think 2 for that week starting. It's really new. We're trying to figure out what to do and where the jurors are meeting. So it is going to be complex for a very long time. Right now, depending on the size of the panel, depending on whether the attorneys agree to six jurors or 12 jurors, the voir dire may take place in another space. And then the jurors who are actually seated are always going to be at the courthouse, but the actual voir dire may occur in a space away from the 2 courthouses. And that's both for district criminal and district civil. It's my understanding, talking to Judge Wong and Judge Shepard, they are looking about doing in-person jury trials starting in October. And they are planning, I think, to do that at 700 Lavaca, which used to be the Chase Bank building, if you're old like I am, older, more mature like I am. And for the criminal, the voir dire generally will occur at the LBJ auditorium. That will be noticed to the jurors, and the parties will be aware of that. And they already have a huge schedule of what courts are doing the voir dire that they are, I think, finishing up. And then for the civil, once again, it's going to be at the 700 Lavaca, which is now the Travis County Administrative Building that we bought several years ago. Virtual trials, the JPs are still going to do virtual trials. The probate court just finished a virtual trial on a will contest that was interesting to watch. And then the civil judges are still going to be doing, we're going to try with the clerk's office to do a in-person and virtual at the same time. So they're looking at going from 2 jury trials a week to 4, which, is kind of similar to what we used to do. But 2 will be virtual and 2 will be in person. Now, the problem is we're not sure. Oh, and then I've given everybody the link to the procedures for remote jury trials if they want to access that and determine whether or not they want to do that. Now, we are waiting to see about some legislation that is pending that may wipe out the ability to do virtual jury trials unless all the parties agree. So a lot of this may change, and if it does, I will send Amber any of the statutes that I think will affect some of these items that I'm talking about. We're almost finished, which kind of works out at 1 o'clock. Just some courthouse update. The probate court is no longer at the Heman, Marion Sweat. They have taken over, and the probate court is now at the old federal courthouse, and it is I haven't seen it because of COVID, but I've gotten on the website and it's just beautiful. And Judge Herman is quite happy to be in his new courthouse. The probate clerks are now over there. They are not over here not here. I'm not even there. They are not over at Heman. Any questions, Amber, before I finish?
We do have one.
Okay.
It's from a few slides back. Is it true that we can no longer file a standalone proposed order, but must file a motion for entry of the proposed order?
Is this for family law?
I don't know. Irene, do you want to speak up? I don't think Irene does family law, but she's still here, but she's on mute.
Yeah, it's for civil cases.
Okay.
Right, yeah.
I think it's based on the new, isn't that in the new standing orders? But Irene, let me look at that again. Oh, there you are.
Yeah, sometimes it worked both ways. After, during the pandemic, we tried to submit a proposed order, a standalone one, and it depends on the judge, or the court. So sometimes they accepted that and signed it, but sometimes they would reject it and say, hey, you need a motion. And then from then on, we just accompany, draft a motion to accompany the proposed order. So now we are sort of at a loss as to what is the sort of standard practice.
Yeah, let me look at their standing orders and I'll send that to Amber. And then, I'm not saying you should quote that to a judge. You guys have to make your own decision on your relationship, but you could say, the local orders say this, but, yeah, that's all I can give you.
Some comments that say we've been able to file proposed orders under a cover letter without motion for entry, and which is what my experience is too. But so I don't know what's going on with your stuff, Irene.
Okay, this is my last, next to last slide. So also, the best news ever, as you know, Snowvid or the snowpocalypse really devastated the Travis County Heman, Marion Sweat Courthouse. I mean, we were out of it. We were still working, but we physically had to be out almost a month because it tore it up. It tore it up from the 5th floor all the way down to the 1st floor. They have now repaired the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th floor. They are still doing some minor repairs to the 5th floor. And that's another reason why the judges are moving quite slowly to open up for hearings. But anyway, the new courthouse, maybe because of COVID, maybe because things, positive things are happening. I've talked to Judge Livingston, and it is on budget, and it is under budget, and it is on time, and it is set to open up late next year. We are very excited. We got to design our own space. So it fits, instead of having 2 separate floors, we are all going to be on the 3rd floor. This is only civil. So once again, we're going to be spread out. No longer can a civil paralegal, a criminal paralegal or a civil paralegal come to CJC and take those rickety, horribly designed stairs up to HMS. You're going to have to actually walk, 4 blocks. Is that 17th and San Antonio, where the Dog and Duck used to be? That's where that space is. But look at the beautiful building. I had to send you a beautiful picture of it. And it's starting to look like that picture, not as glossy, but I pass by it at least once a month just to look at it. I think they think I'm stalking them. And I am, because I am so excited. And the good news is, for people that practice family law or occasionally practice family law, the AG child support courts are going to be moving over there. So we're going to have all the family stuff in one building, not over at the old Torf space where they used to be. And we're also going to have a child care center where people can drop off their kids while they have a hearing and then come pick up their children when they leave. But it is not going to be a full-blown stay 8 hours for the employees. And I forgot to put this on the notes. There's parking. There is so much, there's public parking and it's underneath. And there's going to be, there's going to be protected judge and elected official. I have to keep telling you, an elected official parking, but there's also going to be, and parking for employees, but there's also going to be some parking for the public. So I am very excited about that and very excited for you, because to watch people drive around HMS and then come in, it's just, it's heartbreaking sometimes. And then JP5 is going to remain at the Heman Marion Sweat. And I'm trying to find out what the long-term plans for this wonderful enduring courthouse has been. And that's it. Here's our contact information. The big one for you guys is the website, where if you want to look at the statement of inability to pay court costs, that's on there. Also, anyway, all the information about our office, including the different departments to contact and the way to contact us is on there. If you want to just know, if you aren't able to get on Aero because you're not an attorney, we have an online case information, which just gives you kind of a summary of the documents. It'll say order signed or proposed order pending. I mean, it'll have that. It'll talk about when the lawsuit was filed, and there's 5 million ways. You can do it by cause number, you can do it by the name, and it also gives you both civil and criminal cases and information. And then if you want to get copies or request records, that's the website. And that's it. Any other questions? Oh, I did. It's 1:06. I feel, oh, and before I forget, congratulations to Amber's sister, Caitlin. She was awarded the Travis County Women Lawyers Association Award. And I'm sure it's in no small part to Amber's assistance. So very happy for that too.
Thank
And
you.
I think that's all my notes. Oh yeah, one last thing. Presently, masks are still required at the courthouse. But on June 1st, once the Supreme Court issues their new order by June, they have to issue a new order by June 1st. We will know whether or not masks are still required. So if you're coming to the courthouse for an appointment, you still have to have a mask, or the sheriff's office will not let you in. But my passport office or any other county office, masks are not required. So if you go to pick up your car registration, or if you go to the county clerk's office to get married, you are not required to wear a mask. You are encouraged, but you are not required. Yep, those are all my notes. I'm done.
Okay, so I have a couple of announcements, but somebody has put in the chat or messaged me that she has questions about Chapter 10 cases that don't apply to the rest of the group, and wants to know if she can speak with you. Either you hang out on this Zoom, or if you want her to have your email, or if you want her to email district clerk help. What do you?
Yeah, why don't you send her my email address, and then I'll reach out to her. That's my job.
All right, thank you.
Thank you all for your wonderful questions, but I have a question just for you to know. I will follow up on the notice of non-suits, and then also about the orders, proposed orders, what the procedure is for that. And then I know I will get a question about Chapter 10. So.
All right.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you, Velva. I have a couple of
Oh, I have
announcements.
to unshare. I'm going to unshare the screen. I don't know.
Oh, that's fine. I think I can.
Oh, wait, there it is. Stop share. There.
All
You can
right.
see your beautiful face.
No. Our next board meeting is June 10th on Zoom. We will not have a CLE in June, but we will have a short meeting on June 16th via Zoom to install our new board of directors. In July, we will be having our first in-person luncheon in over a year, going back to Chez Z. The goal is to offer it in a hybrid format of live or watching it live via Zoom. We don't know if that's going to work. Worst case scenario, it will be recorded and uploaded to our YouTube channel if you sign up but can't make it. We do have Corey Rogers from the Rogers Law Firm presenting, and he is going to get back with us on a topic. But we're very excited to be able to meet back in person. We're talking to Chez Z right now. They may have a limit, so the invite might say like the first 50 people to register, in person can come in person, and everybody else. But as far as we know, they're still distancing and they're taking safety precautions on serving food and all those other things. There's a deadline on June 11th for the Nancy McLaughlin scholarship application. So that's coming up. And then a pro bono award deadline is June 10th. when you open up the pro bono nomination email and you go to the form, it does say it's the 2019 form. That's okay, just disregard that, and just submit nominations to pro bono at Kappa DX by June 10th. We have one more month to push for donations for our current flower pot fund, which is Safe Alliance. And you'll see some pushing of that on social media. And then I have 2 door prizes, 2 $25 gift cards to give away for Kappa. I accidentally spun the wheel while Velva was talking. And ironically, Irene Tong's name popped up on that first one. So Irene, I will email you for the award, and let me spin it one more time. I don't know if y'all can hear that. And the second winner is Carly Collins. I don't know if this thing is like listening to who is speaking up or what, because that's creepy that those 2 people who were talking won. But those are the winners. I'll send you a link to choose your own gift card. Does anybody have any questions of me? We're going to be having an in-person meet the board / vendor parade in July, maybe beginning of August. And we've also reserved the Austin Bar Association house for our Christmas party in December. So we have in-person events coming up soon. And
Are you going to send out the PowerPoint slides? I think you said you were, right? Okay.
I'm going to send out the slides and the certificates, and they will be uploaded to Speaker Zone. And you'll also get a link to watch the presentation via Zoom. So